But my comment as I listen to some of the things I hear out of Washington is just I fear that there's a lack of knowledge. There's a lack of information about how crypto really works. And I think it does a disservice to responsible actors like Ripple who are working with governments, with sanctions. Everything that is enforced from a sanction point of view through fiat currency, anything that Ripple does is enforced in the exact same way. And so there's no different level playing field. And I think in some ways I heard Senator Warren saying things yesterday that felt like it's holding crypto to a different standard and expecting, for example, a blanket ban of all crypto in some of these countries in a way that, like, well, you can still use PayPal, you can still use these, some of these other things, and I don't think we should treat them differently.
This is a very important new interview by Brad Garlinghouse, and look at that face. That looks like an honest man who knows he's winning. I was just kidding about the face, of course. But guys, this is, as I just said, one of the newest interviews from Brad Garlinghouse. And to be honest with you, it is very enlightening because it kind of lightens up the mood. He's really talking in a confident manner, in a nice manner, talking about all the most recent events, like, for example, the newest speech from Jerome Powell, a little bit about how Ripple is, quote-unquote, replacing Swift. Well, that's actually this entire section that I am not trying to let you guys listen to because I don't want to take too much of Fox's content. But what he basically talks about in this small little section, again, after what you just heard, is that Ripple and Swift both follow the regulations, and that all this talk of, oh, but crypto is going to be used to circumvent all the regulations, well, PayPal could be used for that. And at the end of the day, Ripple, as an example, and through their any means, will always basically abide by the rules. And then this little part, what he talks about, you guys can't see it perfectly. I'm trying to point towards the exact sections of the video here. But what he basically talks about here is how, as he already explained in the tweets that I covered, the sanctions basically lie at the endpoints, and it's the same for Swift, same for Ripple, same for any system. Basically, the middle part's not responsible. It's the endpoints, the on-off ramps, for example, for fiat.
Bitcoin.
Look, one of the things that people don't realize is there's just not enough liquidity.
Yeah.
Russia used to trade pre-sanctions $50 billion of cross-border kind of transactions per day. Crypto does not have anywhere near that. So, look, in the same way that somebody could be taking wheelbarrows of rubles or the Ukrainian currency across to Poland and things, like, there are ways you could do that, but it's really not significantly dissimilar.
Why are they so?
And then the last part about Brad is he basically says that people talking about crypto partially are doing it for the clickbait because it's a very interesting thing to bring up right now. You as a country getting his stance on crypto, that's a very big thing. And we've actually also recently seen on Twitter, but I believe the guy behind Grayscale, I believe that he put up a little pointer over on Twitter that eventually China may even unban Bitcoin. That's a hot take. It's an opinion. It's a funny piece. But there's something to be said about that. The majority of countries in the world want to be relevant in that sense and want to be on the front page with their crypto stands at some point or another, in some way or another. With Russia and Ukraine, we can see it right now as it currently stands. Eventually, I think China might also want to take the front again, and whenever they want to call out the attention and when they're not really afraid it's going to mess up the Chinese yuan, they might come back in with a very interesting statement. What I'm going to show you guys right now is a little clip from a little bit later in the interview where she mentions right now that they were talking or interviewed Gary Gensler before, and that they mentioned, or wait, let me actually scratch that, and that they talked with Ripple via the email about this specific interview.
He specifically tried to say that he wants to very much focus on what's a security and what is an actual token, a cryptocurrency. I feel like if that's the case and he's holding you to that standard, at some point he's going to have to go after Ether as well, because Ether and Ethereum are those two very similar paths, just like XRP and Ripple, are they not?
My view is it's very clear Ethereum's a currency, it's very clear XRP is a currency, and that the SEC, I mean, he was interviewed yesterday, Gary Gensler was, or maybe it was even this morning, and commented that, hey, we're going to lose some cases. This is the definition of regulation by enforcement.
He was going to lose. You think he was saying he's going to lose your case?
I don't know what he was saying. I think but he did say, hey, we're going to lose some, and we're okay with that.
Where are you on the case? Let's get an update.
The quick update, on Monday was the last day of expert testimony, expert depositions, et cetera. And so the case continues to move forward. We're expecting some decisions from the court, sooner rather than later as it relates to a couple decisions before the court. But look, it's moved slowly. I think Gary Gensler has continued to kind of go with a narrative that crypto is the Wild West.
And guys, again, I'm not so sure how this is going to work with copyright. If it gets taken down, it gets taken down. So make sure you share this video as soon as possible. I know it's like a 4 or 5 minute clip or so. I'm trying to show as little as humanly possible by talking as well as much over it as possible. Then again, I'm not too sure exactly how this works. I would think it's fair notice, but then at the end of the day, it's kind of not because I'm showing a very large piece of it, right? So again, I'm just not sure. Again, for the majority of this interview, I'm just liking the note he's bringing to it. I definitely like the message he's bringing to it as well. And as you guys can probably guess from exactly what we've seen just now, he doesn't really agree with Gensler. And that really sits quite well with me in the sense that he thinks crypto is the Wild West. It needs to be regulated. And the easiest way / best way to do that is through enforcement. And so here Charles says they never said anything bad about your platform, even though they're alleging all this stuff about these unregistered securities. And here's Brad's response.
Why is that? I mean, because there's nothing bad.
Well, the irony there is, like, we were in the SEC's offices. I met with Chairman Clayton. I was meeting with commissioners. No one ever once said, hey, we think XRP is a security. And they look backwards and say, now we think it's all a security. That's a hard argument.
Please come back.
Okay, so again, you guys get the conclusion. Sorry for trying to be, a little bit clicky. The best thing you can definitely do is just go over to Twitter, check the video out for yourself, and you can see Jeremy Hogan and what he tweeted out. I was meeting with Chairman Clayton. I met with SEC commissioners. No one ever said XRP is a security by Brad Garlinghouse. That's a pretty powerful testimony, no? To be honest with you guys, I think this case is completely shut. I don't think Ripple's going to lose whatsoever. I've decided to put this over on my Twitter a dozen times already over the last week, it feels like. But I want to reiterate over on YouTube yet again. I see the chance of Ripple winning losing, as a ridiculously small chance. Everything is looking in their favor, every single thing. You might say, well, but the SEC is a government agency. Well, but they just explained as well, we'll lose some. It's all basically done. And they're doing it all right now for the betterment of crypto or for the betterment of these rules or some along those lines. Who knows exactly what they're doing it for in the background? That's what they're telling us. At the end of the day, though, them preparing the world that they'll lose some, even though they've really proudly and openly claimed they've just been winning every single time. That is a really big deal to me. And the fact that Brad Garlinghouse is also still putting it out there in that positive vibe. I like what it's going on there. Then again, there's actually a ton of points that I'm missing in my explanation all these times, which mostly relates to the fact that, first of all, there's a lot of shady stuff going on over with the, the Ethereum Foundation. We didn't even want to go down the rabbit hole today of exactly what the difficult stuff and the strange stuff in that is. What I do want to briefly mention is, and even though this is in some way, shape, or form connected, the fact that there's so much stuff that the SEC has not yet shown us. Remember, we're talking about the William Hinman speech and the Ethereum connections in that. It's relevant, it's beautiful, because it's such a freaking web of different pieces of information. It's really interesting. But again, for a lot of people, it looks far away. It looks far-fetched. I understand. But realize this. The SEC has yet to, and again, we are 1 year and freaking 4 months in or so, 1 year and 3 months in, they have yet to provide any information about what exactly the rules on crypto were ever. Realize this for yourself, that throughout all these years, it's still kind of unclear whether or not Bill Hinman's speech was a personal opinion, whether or not it was guidance, and the conclusion is as well that throughout all these years, it's still not certain whether or not they ever even warned players that they might have been messing around with the security. And again, it is still not certain that Bitcoin and Ethereum were ever safeguarded. Now, there's a couple of theories regarding ETH. There's actually a lot of them. But even then, was it at first a security and then not anymore? Is there different points of the Howey test we're not seeing? If they're saying it's case by case, then did Ether and Bitcoin also get sued in private or something like that? Or did we see some sort of private investigation discussion that's not made public? And again, why are they, if their main purpose is to protect investors of the US and the world, whatever, not letting go a rule book on how to easily spot a security that's not based upon this antiquated Howey that nobody seems to understand? Again, to specify that a little bit more, why aren't they going over onto their website and saying, hey, if you have a question about any crypto, let us know, and we'll try to help you out following our own tests? Oh wait, they did that. And remember, guys, I don't know the name anymore of the guy, like Alex or so. In October of 2020, he asked the SEC if XRP was fine, and they basically said we have yet to make such a determination, or something along those lines, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe if you go and write it right now, they'll most likely say we're busy with the case, of course. But before, they've never said, oh, stay away. And I'm thinking, honestly, if you're protecting investors and you're so certain that Ripple, for example, should have known years up front, and again, all the market participants should have also known and should have seen the connection with Ripple and whatnot, that they should have, in every way, shape, or form, let people know sooner so they would have not lost as much money. But again, that is all just some different parts about why I honestly think Ripple's going to win. We can talk about this for further hours and hours and hours, I would say, because there's a dozen points that if I were to sit here for another 15 minutes, I could think of another dozen points as to why Ripple has such a juicy position. Here's, for example, John Dean saying, why hasn't the judge thrown the case out yet? Because, again, there is so ridiculously much evidence. Remember, however, that even though we are seeing everything over on Twitter, the judge isn't there, all right? The judge relies on everything that's being posted officially on the record, and we're finding all these itty-bitty bits everywhere that just make it not make sense, basically. But she's not. She's only finding what's in front of her. And even though theoretically speaking, she has access to the Twitter and everything, you know, we're not going to rely on that. We're not going to count on that. And I'm also assuming that she only uses exactly what is provided because that's the way that these lawsuits work. So I guess if Ripple really wanted to, they can bring some of this stuff up, which I think they've done in the past, and they still might do in the future. But I think that will become more apparent when we're talking about the 63 emails, going more into the Hinman speech, if it needs to be. But I think most things will be decided in Ripple's favor. All right, that was it for right now. Just a little video on all the most important points that just came out about the Brad Garlinghouse speech. I was pretty excited about that, guys. I'm not going to lie. I was pretty excited about that. Still am. A little side note, guys. If you wanted to help the channel out, all you have to do is make sure you press the like button on this video. It helps out a ton. If you want to, you can share the video over on something like Twitter. It helps out a ton too. And just for fun, if you want to see my personal stories and my personal experiences, make sure you check me out over on Instagram. I post a lot of stories there that you guys might enjoy. Here's, for example, a little journey of the day. Just some fun stuff, you know. I saw some really beautiful things, and you guys might want to see that. If not, no worries. I sometimes post crypto stuff in there, but also just a little personal stuff of things I found. And look at this freaking amazing picture, man. This stuff makes me giggle for sometimes, I don't know, hours or so. This is one of the most fun things I've ever seen. I'm really happy with my picture. So, you know, yeah, that was it for right now, guys. That was it for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe. And I will definitely see you guys again in another crypto video later today.